All right, Mark, thanks for all those updates there. And now that Governor Ducey's executive order on schools reopening has expired, it's up to individual districts to make those decisions in Arizona. But the Arizona Education Association is now telling Ducey what the state should be doing. We'll show you their suggestions in a minute, but then we want to ask you, what do you think about them? Send us a text, 602-444-1212. So here they are. First, the AEA is saying that students can't go back to school in person until masks are mandated inside the school for the entire school year. Then require safety protocols and a plan for handling infections when they happen. Also, they want that plan to be known to parents beforehand and provide additional funding to implement protocols. And then these are the big ones for actual education. The AEA wants to cancel standardized testing, or at least render those test scores unreliable. Also, they want the state to grant districts some flexibility on the requirement of 180 days of instruction. So basically relax those rules that they've had in place. So do you agree with these demands? Weigh in right now at 602-444-1212 is the place to let us know what you think about it. Do you think that if they do relax those things and don't have standardized testing, if they should even have the school year? Let us know. Continue to weigh in, again, as we move forward with this just bizarre situation for a lot of parents out there. Rachel?
And with new information coming out almost by the minute, we know it can be tough to keep up. You can find the latest details about the coronavirus and how it's affecting Arizona on the 12 News app.